the day, I think you could do 65, 70. Not something you want to do all day. I mean, the speed limit was about 45 miles an hour. And that's a nice cruising speed. I mean, it drives nicely. Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Today, my favorite kind of vehicle, original and unrestored. And this is unrestored. You don't find them like this anymore. This is the way you would find something maybe in the late 50s or early 60s, been sitting for 30 years, but not sitting close to 100 years, or 90 years. This is a 1931 Auburn 898A, 8-cylinder car. You know, Auburn was set up, E.L. Cord wanted to start a corporation like General Motors, Cadillac at the top, and then Cord, and then Auburn at the bottom. This would have been the equivalent of perhaps like a Chevrolet might have been in General Motors. But a lot of car for the money, a lot of value. Let's meet the gentleman who rescued this and found it. I saw it and contacted him immediately. Rex Johnson. Rex, come on in, buddy. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Now, you live in the Minneapolis area, correct?
That's
okay.
Correct.
And you found it in Minneapolis, right?
In St. Paul, yeah.
Okay.
Local.
Okay. So how did you hear about, what was his story? Was the guy a collector? What was the deal?
He was a hot rodder. His name was Dick Bredimus, and he owned a small business in St. Paul, and he bought this car in 1978, and it just sat in the corner of a steel shed behind a commercial building where he and his friends would hang out and build hot rods, and unfortunately Dick passed away. I never got to meet him.
Right.
And I bought it from his brother Nick, who inherited it, and all his other cars. He had a bunch of hot rods.
Was it outside or inside?
It was inside. It was well stored. You know, he was a car guy, so it was properly on jack stands underneath.
Oh, okay.
Underneath the suspension, not under the frame, so
Right.
you know it's easy on the bushings.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
they did it right.
Well, it looks great. How many miles on the vehicle? Any idea?
It says, I believe, about 38,000 on the odometer. I would probably put that at 138.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You know, I mean, 38 was a lot back in the day. You know, especially if you're just driving. You know, the speed limit was 45 miles an hour, so that might be true. Of course, in '78 it was just, wow, that's about 30-something years old, maybe a little more. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Nice shape. I mean, just some paint flaking a little bit, but not bad. This is the original color and the original paint. That's what makes it cool. This is the original color combination, isn't it?
There's some dispute about that. When we go around the car, I'll show you some of the spots.
Okay, so you think this might not be an original paint job?
I really believe, and actually I spoke with Randy Ema about it when he saw the car, and
Right.
he said it's likely one repaint, but
Yeah.
obviously many years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Randy Ema, for those that don't know, Randy is the premier Auburn, Cord, Duesenberg, especially Duesenberg specials. He's the man who did all of mine, and he has all the records on these. So he must have been thrilled when you got it.
I took it to the Auburn Cord Duesenberg annual reunion in Auburn back in September of 2021, and it was really cool because I've always seen you with your ACD cars and seen Randy, you know, many times on various shows and various videos, and it was just serendipitous that I finally owned an Auburn. And I pulled up to the museum on registration day, and there he was, and he turned around and he saw this car and he saw it was original unrestored, and he came over to it like a fly to a bug light.
Well, that's what's funny. I thought you were going to say a fly to something else, so that's good. Bug light is better. Yeah, bug light is better. Well, you know, that's the cool thing. Every Duesenberg is accounted for, but not every Auburn. But every single Duesenberg, you know, I always meet people go, hey, my uncle's got a Duesenberg. No one knows about it. No, your uncle doesn't have it, and what number is it? And I'll tell you who does have it. I think they built 481 and 378 remain, okay? And he has the number. But with Auburn's, these still pop up like this one. He was not aware of it, was he?
Correct.
Wow.
It was just hidden there. All of Dick's friends knew about it, and,
Yeah.
and coincidentally, the first time I ever took it out, I got it running, and my wife and I went to a local antique car show, you know, pre-15 cars.
Right.
And when I was there were a number of gentlemen who had showed up with other kinds of vehicles, 10 or 12, and I said, let's go home, let's get the Auburn. So we bring it back, and an older gentleman comes up to me, and he says, he looks at the car, and he looks at me, and he knew that Dick had passed away, and he says, is that Dick's car? And I said, yeah. And he said, wow. Because he had never seen it on the road.
Yeah, well, it's pretty good. Let's open the hood. Can we open the hood on this
Let's
side?
do that.
Let's see what we got here. Straight 8, flathead, of course. I see the air was much cleaner back in 1930. And what is this? Is this hot air for the carburetor?
That's the part of the crankcase ventilation. So it would draw air through the crankcase. The oil cap on the other side isn't a cap that seals, it allows air in, just to better clear that the blow-by from the pistons out of the engine.
And this is your choke, but it's not hooked up, obviously.
Correct. The studs were a little short for the bracket. You can see how I'm kind of short on those. That was after carburetor rebuild, but I put it together so quick.
Because it seems like that would certainly aid you in starting it, wouldn't it?
It sure would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a newer fuel pump on there.
Yeah, and that was on it when I bought it. And first on the carburetor, big shout out to Pat and Dan Ott, OTT.
Yeah.
They run the carburetor shop in Forest Lake, Minnesota. And this car would not be on the road if it wasn't for them. They had 17 hours into that carburetor rebuild. They had to soak it in chemical baths for about 2 weeks just to get it taken apart.
So that's the original one?
That's the original carburetor.
Okay.
And they handmade all the rubber seals and new
looks like
needle
you need
and
to clean your glass there a little bit. Is that me, or is that a lot of silt in there?
Oh, no, I actually had that out. I completely cleaned it.
Oh, okay. Just colored a little bit.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really get an air cleaner on there, could you? Look at that, it's right up against the steering box.
I've heard of other cars that have air cleaner setups, or at least don't have that suction tube for the breather system, because the problem is if you have enough gasoline vapor in there, and I talked to a gentleman in the ACD club, he's got another straight 8 Auburn, and he had a situation where he had a backfire and there was enough gas vapor in his crankcase that it blew his oil cap out and blew his drain plug out and all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, these are great engines. Are those like Comings?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so those were built in Pennsylvania as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Auburn was originally Eckert. I remember the Eckert brothers, I think. They built cars and then they sold out to a consortium from Chicago that became Auburn, and then E.L. Cord bought the Auburns. He was brought in to take charge of the company. I remember DuPont had just come out with all the wild colors. Model Ts were black, cars were gray or dark matted green. He came out with these wild oranges and yellows, and it really made what was an ordinary car exciting looking to people, you know. Yeah, I've got an Auburn. Mine is 12, which is a really fast car for its period. It was $995, which was a heck of a bargain back in the day. I mean, these did not have the build quality of the Duesenberg or the Packard, but they certainly looked the part, you know. I mean, they were reasonably priced. You got a lot of car for the money, because these were fast. They had, does this have a 2-speed rear end?
It does not.
So this would be a little early. This is 31, but it has the freewheeling, right? So you can, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, well, it's great looking. It's really neat. And let's show the inside here. And this is just the paint flaking here.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the original upholstery, huh?
It is. It's original upholstery, and then Randy believes that the rear seat was reupholstered at some point.
Right.
The fabric is identical, but the buttons aren't pulled down. It's not tucked in.
Okay.
Like it would have been at the factory. And
but you got real wood here.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually that's what you had, real wood. There was no fake wood, and those, yeah, real wood was cheaper than fake wood, you know. But to see the running boards and everything not rotted out, that's pretty amazing.
You can put all your weight on it. You can just stand right on it.
And you got actual floor boards, which are boards, which is kind of cool. Let's show the nice solid shut, isn't it?
It is. It's very nice.
The doors aren't sagging. This is great.
And the fact that the driver's door doesn't sag, that's one of the things that leads me maybe to believe it is only 38,000 original.
I would think, I would not doubt the mileage, especially being in a frigid environment like Minnesota. Oh my God, you know. Yeah, I mean, everything's a nice solid clunk. It's so nice the guy did not get a chance to turn it into a hot rod.
Oh.
It would have been chopped and all that. And this is so you got a wood roof with the fabric stretched over it, yeah.
Yep.
4-wheel drum brakes, and they're hydraulic, correct?
No, it's all cable brake.
Oh, it is mechanic, okay.
Yep.
I guess that's right, 31, that would be right, yeah.
Yeah, I think yours is hydraulic.
Mine is hydraulic, yeah. Henry Ford was the one to hang on to cable brakes the longest. He used to say, the safety of steel from pedal to wheel. That was his thing. He didn't like hydraulic. And you can see why people don't like a little tube with fluid in it. I'd rather have a big, strong cable. You know, you can see why they did that. Spare on the back. And they did make a model that had the dual spares. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. And this was from back in the day when you could do options a la carte. Now everybody is just accustomed to you get package A, B, or C when you buy a car. But back then you could get dual horns, dual side spares, trunk racks, single wheel on the back, and you know, whatever different combination you want. Single stoplight in the rear, dual stoplights. You could just pick and choose, and this is not a well optioned car. You know, as far as Auburns go, this is actually not even far from the most rare. This would be the most common.
Yeah.
4-door, not a convertible, being the most common now makes it rare because nobody saved them. You know, they were sort of, everyone wanted the 2-seater open car. You know, like I've got an 8-liter Bentley over there, Mulliner sedan. Then in the 80s, they all got chopped up into Le Mans replicas. Now people, they want to find a Mulliner. It's worth some money, you know. And what is it, about 85 horsepower? 98, because that was the 898.
Oh, of course.
So 8-cylinder, 98 horsepower, just like your 12 160.
Yeah.
12 cylinders, 160 horse.
Yeah, yeah. Comprehensive dashboard, very nice. And the windshield opens up?
It does.
Any thought of, how do you stop that corrosion on there? Maybe some clear coat?
I'm open to ideas.
Yeah, clear coat will do it. Yeah, that'll do it. Do you think you'll restore it?
No.
No.
It's restored cars, they're beautiful, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
But if this was restored, like when I went to the ACD festival, this was interesting. And there were beautiful 898s and 898As there. And they're beautifully restored. I talked to a couple of the owners of them, and they had spent 10 years painstakingly restoring them. Right. And they're beautiful cars, but they're not interesting. And you know, I could spend X restoring this, and when I would get done, it'd be worth half of X.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're only original ones. You even have the original radiator, don't you? Look at that. That honeycomb. It's amazing that wasn't rotted out. And was it all the fluids drained?
It was drained. It was all properly stored. They didn't take the fuel out of the tank, so I had to flush that pretty heavily.
But the tank's okay. You don't have to replace the tank?
Nope.
Wow. So it really is all original. Very nice. Yeah, let's
close the hood.
Let me shut this, and we'll come around and take a look.
And so the grill is just laser straight. There's not a single dent in this.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
And it's missing some pieces. Here's where a hand crank would have been. There should be an emblem there.
That's right. The emblem goes there. And the hand crank wasn't so much to start it, but to time it. That's what you do. But you could start it if you were like George Reeves or Superman or something. Yeah, yeah. I like the two-tone.
See, and that's another thing. You know, the other side of this hood panel is a different color, so I don't know if was it damaged at some point, but this is laser straight, so where did that come from? Why'd that happen? I don't know.
Well, you never quite know, but it's okay. Looks like original plate from 31.
I got that at an auction in St. Paul.
Wow.
So that was great.
Do you know if it was sold new in St. Paul?
I have no idea. Prior history, prior to 1978, is that the gentleman bought it from another gentleman who worked at the Snap-on tool plant in Wisconsin.
And what do we got here?
That's its original World War II gas ration sticker, still in the window.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
It looks like someone tried to peel it off on the inside at one point, but on the bottom of the inside of the sticker facing the passenger, it says, "Is this trip really necessary?"
Oh, that's fine.
Because remember, if you're just driving around wasting gas, you're hurting the boys in Europe.
Yeah, there probably is a repaint. I don't know if the original paint would flake just quite like that.
That's the theory, and then also there's just a little bit of scuff in the metal. And so because of that scuff, you know, at the factory they would have stamped it and it'd be done. But then because there's a little bit of scuff, it means somebody probably worked that metal at some point and repainted it. And when I first got this car running, called up a lifelong friend of mine, Scott. I've known him since I was born, and our fathers were best friends. And I said, "Scott, I got the car running. I'm going to bring it over." So I drive over to Scott's house. He and his wife Bridget come out. And his wife Bridget comes up to it and she goes, well, when are you going to paint it? And she took this big piece of paint and just broke it right off, and that's why you see so much metal there.
Well, yeah, it's just, yeah. You know, she go into her shoe closet. Hey, look at the heel on this thing. Yeah, and I guess that's original glass, too?
To the best of my knowledge, I didn't
wouldn't be, is that safety glass? Probably not. 31?
I don't know when the safety glass came.
Well, it just looks great. I mean, it's nice and straight, and it gives you an idea of exactly how it was built and how it was done. But I had a lot of high-price features. You know, it's so funny, they always talk about the low-price field, the mid-price field, and the high-price field, you know. Nobody talks like that anymore, but like I said, the wood is beautiful. The kind of Art Deco-y door handles. I imagine you'd be able to find an original handle piece here. You're missing both those, huh?
All 4 of the window cranks are missing, the small knobs. The one for the windshield fell off. I have that.
Okay. But it shuts nice and solid. Very nice.
Yeah, it's like a bank vault.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I love this rear window here. Does that rear one go down? No, I don't think so.
No, it doesn't. It does have the cowl vent too, from the front cowl, so you can run the lever underneath and get some air on your feet.
Yeah, yeah, very nice.
I call it 740 air conditioning.
Yeah, yeah.
7 windows, 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's what you got.
Let's take a look at the rear of the vehicle. Yeah, it's a good sized car from the back. I love you got the original plates. That's really neat.
There was a box of 6 boxes of plates at an auction. There were a few guys looking to bid on them. And the auctioneer was coming around, and I had sifted through. I saw those, and I said, all I want are these. Anybody who buys this box, whatever you want, I'll pay you. And one guy bought all 6 boxes. He just gave them to me.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, that was very nice.
Yeah, that's great. That spare tire is not going to do anybody any good, is it? It says stop right on the little light there. Very nicely done. Can we fire it up, take it for a ride?
Absolutely.
Let's give it a shot. Start it up. Wow, look at that.
Yeah. Again, thanks to the carburetor shop.
Thanks to the carburetor shop. Well, it pulls away nicely. You know, these always had more power than a lot of other cars of the period. I mean, you could drive this around LA today.
Yep. Now this car probably, what do you figure it would do? I've never maxed it out. I just treated this engine like almost like it's made of glass.
Well, back in the day, I think it could do 65, 70. Not something you want to do all day. I mean, the speed limit was about 45 miles an hour. And that's a nice cruising speed. I mean, it drives nicely. It's amazing how clean the windshield is. I mean, free of any sort of nicks or chips.
Yeah, it is definitely one beautiful piece of this car. I almost wonder if it was broken and replaced.
I don't know. Now it's got that sticker. That sticker's got to be 60 years old.
That's true. So back to, is it 138 or 38? That's a sign of 38.
Yeah.
Just, it rides so nice. It's all original, it's all there, but it goes down the road good. It doesn't pull, the brakes have a little right pull, but I'm gonna get the wheels off it, and I found some people that can do relining of the shoes, and the guy that's gonna do the shoes, he told me, he said, machine the drums and tell me which wheel they're going on before you bring them so I can match the curvature of the shoe.
Yeah, it's called arcing them, yeah.
Ah, arcing, thank you.
You know, another good thing to do is get it up on a lift and get some oil and a paintbrush and just paint those leaf springs. Let the oil soak in there. You can get a screwdriver in between it, you know, spray penetrant in there just so it moves around, and if you see the stuff coming out, that's a good sign. You know, you want to...
Then they're not eating themselves as you drive.
Right, right. People used to put gaiters on them, you know what those are? The leather covers, yeah.
Your Mulliner sedan has that.
Right, yeah. That's the same year as this, 31.
Yep.
And that's an honest 100-mile-an-hour car. We've hit 100 in that car.
Wow.
Well, off the speedometer, it might be 92 or something, but I mean, 100 in that, you know you're moving.
Yeah, 50 in this, you know where you're moving. I don't think I've ever had it to 50.
I mean, right now we're probably going 30, 35. Well, you probably out at 50. It would be fun to get the speedometer fixed. You ever unscrew the back while you're driving to see if the cable's moving?
No, I haven't.
Because it might just be a broken cable and nothing wrong with your speedometer.
And I think that's highly likely, I think. You know, that cable sat for so long, got some rust in there.
Yeah.
Because it broke the first time I drove it.
Yeah.
I remember looking at the needle and thinking, wow, the speedometer works. And then the needle just crashed to zero while I was still driving.
Right. The steering box feels very good.
It's a good old car. It's a really good old car.
Yeah, it's a great old car.
My constant joke about this is that no one joined the Auburn Duesenberg Club for less money than I did.
Yeah.
With sole exceptions being, like you shared off camera, we were chatting that of a guy buying a car for 25 bucks back in the 60s and he still has it.
Yeah. In 9 years, this will be a 100-year-old car.
I know. I have to host a birthday party for this thing.
Certainly shifts very nicely.
Thanks. Sometimes when I come down to second gear from third, it'll pop out if I get on it a little bit, but
It's a great Sunday go for ice cream car.
yeah.
And these tires are pretty old. You might want to replace those. Because, you know, you hit the brakes one day, tire bursts, so you slide. And then you chew up your wheel too, you know?
Yeah. It would be nice too just to have nice bright white walls.
Did these have white walls in 31? I don't think so. I think that's a later thing.
Maybe? I'm not sure on that. Not sure.
I never seen any of the other cars in period with white walls. That seems to be sort of a 1950s kind of affectation. I don't know. Have you ever seen pictures of one with in the books or anything?
Gosh, I've seen so many pictures, but I guess I've never noticed.
Yeah.
Or never looked for the authentic, true period correct restoration.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of photos of these cars, but
Yeah, factory photos are your best bet.
oh yeah.
You can be Lincoln and drive this thing. Look at it, it's all kinds of lay headroom.
It's wonderful for a weekend drive, and you don't take it too far, and treat it nice. And,
Yeah.
you know, and all I did for this was I paid a sum of money to buy it, but I don't really own it. I've paid that sum of money so that I get the honor of being this car's caretaker. Then my job is just to take care of it, and then someday I'm dead and gone, and somebody else will take it over.
You know, they used to sell a thing called a cylinder lubricator for these old cars. It would shoot a dollop of oil into the gas or to lubricate the valve.
Oh.
And these valves do need to be lubricated. Because modern gas is so dry with the ethanol, it's really the worst thing you can possibly do for cars.
You know, in California, can you buy non-oxygenated?
No.
Oh. See, in Minnesota, we can buy ethanol free.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you can put that in, do that.
Cool.
But you do want to put a little lubricant in the fuel.
I do need to get the chassis lubricator working. I forcibly lubricated it by disconnecting it, and but it's full of ATF, and you know, with the vacuum actuated pump on it, and it doesn't work. Because if it did, I'd see lubricant to the kingpins.
Right.
So I've got to get a pump for that. But I spoke with I forget his name. Forgive me, gentleman that owns Straight 8 in Michigan.
Okay.
And he has those laser scanned and CNC'd, and he remakes them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So now I can get a replacement.
Temperatures
vacuum
drop
pump.
down a little bit.
Yeah.
189. That's just about the right temperature.
I was so worried about it when I first started it up. I had an infrared heat gun, and I was looking at everything and looking for hot and cold spots on the radiator, and just trying to make sure that everything was good before I really took it for any kind of mileage. probably only driven the car 60, 70 miles. It's wonderful to be able to preserve these cars.
Oh yeah, it's a great thing.
You know, and one really fun part about this is there's so many people who had seen this car for so many years in Dick's garage.
Not moving, yeah.
Yeah, all his friends coming over, building the hot rods. He was, by all accounts, just a great guy.
How old a guy was he when he died?
Maybe late 60s.
Oh, okay. You never met him, eh?
No, I never met him. Just met his brother, Nick.
Yeah.
But Nick is very gracious. You know, one of those guys that you can do a handshake deal with. You know, we did a handshake, and he wasn't appointed to, you know, have legal authority to sell the car yet, but you could just tell you handshake and hand a check.
Yeah.
And
transmission is very, I believe this is 38,000 miles.
think so?
Well, the transmission is so nice. I'm not crunching gears or...
You know, I wish I had a copy of the title from when Dick bought it, but they didn't have anything. The only thing that Nick had on the car, the brother, he had the title, and he had a little manila envelope with a carburetor gasket in it, and that was it.
That's funny.
Luckily, it did come with the giant wrench that it takes to take off the center lug for the wheel. So I got that
Yeah,
big.
you need that. And there's no, this might have had no titles when these were sold. Might have just a bill of sale, that was it.
May have been. That 3-2 downshift, you do that way better than I do. I've hit a grind on that a few times.
Just pause. Let the revs go all the way down. Also, I would clean those plugs. You get a bit of a hesitation like it's loading up, like you're not running it at enough RPM.
I appreciate all the advice. It's all these, like I said, I got all this new car knowledge, but you know, old cars, they got quirks. They've got issues. They've got little things that you need to know that you can't just do a Google search for and see in a technical manual.
Hey, I want to thank Rex Johnson for bringing this to us. This is kind of like a street grab, one of those cars you hear about, you see it on the street. I invited him to bring it here, and he brought it all the way here, so thank you. Thanks for preserving this piece of history. It's nice to see a nice 100% original. I mean, anybody who wanted to restore one of these could look at yours and see exactly how it went together, what color the wires were. You know, so many little things that people change over the years, but this one is pretty much as it left the factory. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Jay.
Good job. See you next week, everybody.
Mm-hmm.